The jurrac archetype, or as they're referred to in the OCG as jurracu, is an archetype of fire dinosaur monsters released as dual terminal promos in Dual Terminal Demon Roar God Revival and in Hidden Arsenal 2. The invasion of the worms has barely affected the jurracs. However, after having watched battles desolate the ground below, Fable Valkyrius descends to the nearby realm of the jurracs. When the wicked gods suddenly strike, the jurracs fought back with the flames that covered their bodies. The jurracs, victims of the most intense attacks of the Fable's conquest scheme, transformed their bodies into meteors and completely razed the land where the Fable dwelt. From the ashes a new fire was born, the Neo-Flamvel. The wishes of those who lost their bodies by dropping the meteor awoke the god of the ancient flames. The tribe of fire becomes one with the ancient deity, sweeping away the Fable that remained in their realm. Visually, most jurrac monsters are brightly coloured, usually with bright red and yellow extremities and blue bodies. These resemble the various colours of flames. Jurrac is derived from the word Jurassic. Each Jurassic monster is based on and named after a genus of dinosaur, with the exceptions of Jurrac Dino, which resembles a Ceratosaurus, but is named after Deinonychus, Jurrac Meteor, which is named after the meteor that caused the extinction of the dinosaurs, and Jurrac Terror, which is named after Pteranodon, a flying reptile called a pterosaur that isn't actually a dinosaur. In terms of the playing style, a Jurrac deck focuses on destroying monsters by battle to trigger advantage building effects. With a combination of Jurrac Velo, Jurrac Guaiba, and Fossil Dig, they have lots of search power. Jurrac effects tend to deal with destroying monsters by battle and gaining attack by attributing other dinosaurs. Jurrac Giganoto, one of the 3 Jurrac synchro monsters, has the ability to grant additional attack points to Jurrac monsters on the field for each Jurrac in the player's graveyard. Notably, many of the Jurrac monsters search Jurracs with 1700 attack or less, as opposed to the customary 1500 or less, often searched such as with the effects of Giant Rat, UFO Turtle, and Masked Dragon. In terms of the key monsters, these include Jurrac Guaiba. It's a level 4 one with 1700 attack. If it destroys a monster with battle, you can special summon a Jurrac with 1700 or less attack from your deck. It can't attack this turn. It's good for generating advantage and making synchros or Xyz or even link monsters. Jurrac Velo, a level 4 with 1700 attack. If it's in attack position and is destroyed by battle, you get to special summon a Jurrac with 1700 or less attack from your deck. It's good for toolboxing a Jurrac Alo or Jurrac Dino, a level 3 1700 attack monster and a tuner. If it destroys a monster by battle, you can tribute a Jurrac during the end phase to draw 2 cards. It's good for gaining advantage and for synchro summons, and Jurrac Alo, which is a level 1 tuner. Tribute it to special summon a level 4 or lower Jurrac from your graveyard. It pairs well with the spell card Rekindling. In terms of the finishers, you have the Jurrac Giganoto. It's a level 7 synchro monster. He's easily summoned by using a Jurrac Guaiba to special summon that Jurrac Minoloth, which raises the attack of all of your Jurracs by 200 for each Jurrac in your graveyard, and summoning at the synchro usually means that your monsters will have a minimum boost of 400. Using Guaiba, you can easily get 2 of them out, giving a combined 1600 attack boost. This is great for ending games quickly. Jurrac Meteor. It's a level 10 synchro monster. It requires a Jurrac tuner as well as 2 or more dinosaur non-tuners. This may seem difficult, but it's eased by Jurrac Guaiba, destroying a monster, get Jurrac Galem, which is the level 2 tuner, and normal summon a level 4 monster. When you summon Meteor, his effect is similar to Black Rose Dragon. All cards on the field are destroyed. Unlike Black Rose Dragon, the effect is mandatory. However, he also special summons a tuner from your graveyard. The best choice would be Jurrac Dino with 1700 attack, or Jurrac Alo, which can tribute itself to revive any level 4 or lower Jurrac. Jurrac Titano is a 2 tribute monster with 3000 attack points. Its effect easily boosts it to 4000 attack, and it avoids targeting by traps and monster effects, blocking things such as Magic Cylinder and Bionic Dragon of the Ice Barrier. It can't be special summoned, but is easily tribute summoned using a big evolution pill, or with the tokens generated by Jurrac Storico, and Jurrac Spinos, a 2 tribute Jurrac like Titano, but with a very different effect. When Spinos destroys your opponent's monster by battle, it special summons a small attack position token to your opponent's field. This allows an easy kill for your weaker Jurrac monsters, activating their effects and cracking at your opponent's life points. And it also stops Gauze the Emissary of Darkness and Battle Fader from being used. In terms of the deck's strengths, they have a strong search and draw power. Fossil Dig, Jurrac Guaiba, and Jurrac Velo can recruit any of the low-level monsters. One could even use Miracle Jurassic Egg and Baby Ceratosaurus in a deck abusing Limit Reverse with Jurrac Alo as well as Super Ancient Dino Beast. The effect of Jurrac Dino is a +1 and is easily triggered. High attacks. Jurracs whose effects trigger in battle have plenty of opportunity to do so. The low-level Jurracs generally have 1700 attack, which is decent, but they have no equivalent to Honest or Kalut, which are surprise attack boosters. Instead, a Jurrac player should use Jurrac, Jiga, Noto, and a Shrink or Half Counter. Solidarity is also a fairly good choice, boosting a 1700 attack monster to the point where it can take down a Monarch in battle. Burden of the Mighty can be used as can single-use tricks like Forbidden Lance. Attack boosting is fairly essential to a Jurrac deck. Synchro, Exceeds, and Link capability. Again, Jurrac Guaiba is a star here, with the ability to quickly recruit level 1, 2, or 3 tuners. The deck easily produces level 5, 6, or 7 Synchro monsters. In addition, you can use any 2 level 4 Jurracs for the Exceed summon of Evolza Lagia, who negates spells, traps, and summons, or Evolza Adulk, who negates monster effects. Furthermore, Jurrac Alo can be used with Rekindling to gain advantage and modulate levels for any situation. While the deck has trouble reaching level 8 on its own, you can add one Flameball Firedog and Flameball Magician for use with Rekindling. Not to mention, Guaiba can also work with certain appropriate link monsters, including Dew Little Chimera. With the weaknesses, there are tough monsters like Gladiator Beast decks. To a Jurrac deck that cannot defeat the opponent's monster is crippled. If the opponent prevents you from special summoning, you will have to depend on normal and tribute summons. If the opponent prevents you from battling, for example with the effect of Ally of Justice Catastrophe, or eliminates the cards used to boost attack, few of the monsters will do anything for you. For this reason, it's a good idea to run Dimensional Prison and a similar cheap removal. Graveyard Recursion. Besides Jurrac Alo and the difficult Jurrac Beator, Jurracs do not have many ways to special summon monsters from the graveyard. Jurrac have itself, but its effects should not trigger often in normal play. However, Kinkabio and Rekindling can be used to recycle Jurrac Alo in a deck centered on it, allowing for big plays from the graveyard. Fossil Excavation can also be used to dump and revive a Jurrac monster, but it's very vulnerable to Mystical Space Typhoon and negates the revive monster's effect. Back row dependence. Due to high draw power combined with a lack of continuous or quick effects, Jurracs rely on spell and trap support to convert their physical strength into advantage. They can't do much against mass removal and OTKs. For this reason, Effect Veiler and Starlight Road are sometimes teched for use against decks with explosive finishers for plants and Night Swans. Water Dragon can leave any Jurrac monster completely vulnerable in battle, since the effect of Water Dragon reduces the attack of all fire and pyro monsters to 0, and all members of the archetype are fire attributes. Common support cards include Fossil Dig, which searches every monster in the Jurrac archetype except Spinos, Tyrannus, and Titano, as well as some outside it. In Evolza Lagia, you can exceed summon this card just by destroying a monster with Jurrac Guaiba and summoning a level 4 Jurrac like Jurrac Velo. This card gives Jurracs more control options, making them more of an aggro control type deck. Evolza Dolka has the same materials as Lagia, but negates monsters' effects. This card rounds out protection provided by Lagia and is an easy way to answer to Ally of Justice Casta. Hydrogeddon. Easy Swarming works well with dinosaur attack boosters. The newly summoned Hydrogeddon can attack too, so in some cases it's better than Guaiba. Searchable via Fossil Dig. Super Ancient Dino Beast. If you choose to summon many monsters from the graveyard, such as with Jurrac Hera and Jurrac Alo, you can get some free cards out of it. Fairly easy to summon with one tribute. Use with Limit Reverse or Rekindling for massive gain. Flamberg fired searches Jurrac Alo and Jurrac Ganem and works well with Rekindling. Miracle Jurassic Egg has good defense and can easily search Jurrac Alo, allowing you to special summon Jurrac from the graveyard. It works nicely alongside Super Ancient Dino Beast. Hyper Hammerhead, a good tech card for dinosaurs. Unlike Jurrac Terra, it works when attacking or when attacked. It's searchable through Kinkabio. This card can be useful for reviving Jurrac Alo and using its effect. When used in conjunction with Super Ancient Dino Beast, you can get a +3 each turn, since Kinkabio is a spirit and returns to the hand during the end phase. Creature Swap. This card works great when combined with Jurrac Velo, allowing you to take an opponent's threatening monster and use it to destroy Velo, awarding you another monster to attack with from the deck. A good target here is Jurrac Guaiba. Destroyosaurus. If you choose to run Jurassic World, this card is pretty useful. It is a fairly powerful dinosaur itself and can be searched with Fossil Dig to make searching Jurassic World even easier. Effect Veiler. Stores your opponent's monsters and leaves cards like Debris Dragon defenseless. Useful if drawn with a Jurrac Dino. Big Evolution Pill. Tribute one dinosaur and you can summon any dinosaur without tribute, but it only remains face up on the field for 3 of your opponent's turns, which means you won't usually get more than 2 summons. However, when combined with Ultimate Offering, you can summon many times during your main phase or the opponent's battle phase. Ensure an easy OTK by summoning 2 level 4 jurracs and exceed summoning Evolve Lagia or Dolt before you drop your big dinos. Instant Fusion. This card can be used to bring out Practical to use with the Jurrac tuner for the synchro summon of a level 6, 7 or 8 synchro monster, including the Jurrac synchros. Since Practical is a dinosaur, you can also use him with a big evolution pill. 1 for 1. It allows an easy search of Jurrac Alo and quickly revival of any level 4 or lower Jurrac in the graveyard, including the one you discarded. Royal Decree. Since this is an attack-based deck, a card such as Royal Decree could make threats from all trap cards vanish. Useful in Jurrac Beatdown as well as a deck centered around rekindling. And a Circle of the Fire Kings. A substitute for Alo, and it can also target high-level Jurrac monsters like Giganoto while maintaining Jurrac numbers in the graveyard to get the most out of its attack boost. The Battle, Jurrac World, Molten Destruction, Solidarity, Burden of the Mighty, and Lost World each has its own advantage and disadvantages. Jurrac World confers a small boost but is eminently searchable and supported by Destroyosaurus. Molten Destruction yields a large boost and is useful in a Jurrac Farmville build, but may help your opponent and doesn't work on all dinosaurs. Solidarity gives the largest boost, but it cannot be searched. It requires the use of only dinosaurs in the main deck and can be easily messed up if a dinosaur synchro monster is destroyed. Burden of the Mighty lowers the attack of the opponent's monsters, and it works with any and all monsters you choose to run, but the drop is small and doesn't help against Xyz monsters, or for that matter, Link monsters. Lost World decreases the attack and defense of all dinosaur monsters, places a token monster on your opponent's field when you normal or special summon a dinosaur, which can allow Jurracs to easily destroy by battle, and as long as your opponent has a token, it prevents non-token monsters from being targeted by opposing card effects. However, unlike Jurassic World, it cannot be searched by Destroyosaurus. Combining 2 of these boosts, however, will usually put your monsters on top. Forbidden Lance. This card is basically a multi-purpose pseudo-shrink. It reduces any monster's attack by 100, but it also protects it from spells and traps. Used on your monsters, it deflects cheap removal cards such as Dark Hole and Dimensional Prison. Used on your opponent's monsters, it creates surprise openings as well as stifling the effects of equipped cards. Note that if you use it in the damage step, your opponent cannot respond with Compulsory Evacuation Device or enemy controller or cards to that effect. Forbidden Chalice. It protects your Jurracs from monsters like Raikou Lightsworn Hunter and Snow Eater, and allows Jurrac Venom to trade blows with monsters with 2100 attack. Its effect will still activate since it resolves in the graveyard. Since Evolve Lagia does not stop monster effects, this card is useful for maintaining easy and early control of the field. United We Stand / Mage Power. These give some powerful advantages when used, but are even better when combined with Twin Swords of Flashing Light twice with 2 attacks. Jurrac Wyber can destroy and search twice. Shrink and Half Counter. Surprise your opponent when they attack your monster, allowing yours to remain while theirs does not. Also, if the monster that was attacked was Jurrac Wyber or Jurrac Dino, you will get its effect. This card is vital against monsters with high attack and controlling effects, such as Shooting Star Dragon and Archlord Christia, Survival Instinct and Terra Infinity. You can use this combo to easily gain life points back and make a massively high attack monster. This is also helpful for adjusting the graveyard to summon Pyrorex. Big Bang Shot. It can be used to give one of your high attack monsters a piercing and works well with Tyranno Infinity. Tail Swipe. Even if you can't bring out the 2 tribute Jurracs, you can summon Jurrac Hera fairly easily with its own effect. Then you can return annoying monsters that your opponent controls from the field, effective against low-level extra monsters like Ally of Justice Castastar and a Gladiator Beast Ezidari. Defender's Intersect. It forces monsters from defense position to attack position, negating their effects and forcing them to attack. This diffuses popular cards such as Raikou Lightsworn Hunter or Gravekeeper's Spy. That can be troublesome, and since they have no attack, it's a good chance to deal a blow to your opponent. Gozen Match. Since all Jurracs and Evolzar Xyz monsters are fire, this card doesn't hinder them, so you can side it against decks that have monsters with different attributes. Rivalry of Warlords. If you're only going to be using dinosaurs, this card works well to mess with your opponent's strategies. It's a good side deck card against decks like Quick Draw Points. Debug. Counters Sangan, Reborn Tengu, and TG monsters, among others. It disarms cards like Honest and Necroguard that would interrupt your attacks. Also stops Effect Veiler, which can be changed to the effect of Evolve Lagia to negate it. Spiritual Fire Art Kunai. All jurrac monsters are fire attributes, making this card a good finisher if your opponent still has life points remaining after a big attack. Pyrex the Elemental Lord, a fire attribute dinosaur that's right at home with the jurracs. It's painfully easy to get 5 jurrac monsters into the grave to meet this monster's special summoning requirement, and when it hits the field, it can clear your opponent's field of a troublesome monster to either allow your jurracs to attack directly, or end the match if your opponent's monster had particularly high attack. Jurrac Impact, a good card if you're playing Giganoto, Pyrex, or another big dinosaur, though Meteor provides a tuner unlike this card. Kickfire, a great finisher if used successfully after Spiritual Fire Art Kurenai, potentially a 1 move KO. Survival of the Fittest, helps swarm and keep your monsters for synchro later. A nice card since you don't know when you will get hit with a Mirror Force, so plussing as early as possible is key. Jurrac Alo is a fire attribute dinosaur type tuner effect monster. It's a level 1 with 200 attack and 200 defense. You can tribute this card to select one level 4 or lower jurrac monster in your graveyard, except Jurrac Alo, special summon that monster from the graveyard. By tributing this card, you're able to replace it with a level 4 or lower jurrac monster, so that's quite decent. It is a tuner monster, can be used for part of the synchro play, but it's extremely weak and there are better options. Jurrac Brachis is a fire attribute dinosaur type tuner effect monster, level 3 with 1000 attack effects. While another face-up Jurrac monster is on the field, this card cannot be destroyed by battle. This provides itself with a level of protection from being destroyed by battle, which is quite decent so long as you have another Jurrac monster on the field. It being a tuner monster, keeping it alive to be able to go into synchro play is quite important. Jurrac Dino is a fire attribute dinosaur type tuner effect monster. It's a level 3 with 1700 attack and 800 defense. Once during each player's end phase, if this card destroyed an opponent's monster by battle, this turn you can attribute one Jurrac monster to draw 2 cards. It's a tuner monster, therefore it's key for actually going into some of your synchro plays, but during each player's phase, provided this card destroyed an opponent's monster by battle, you can tribute one of your Jurracs, including itself, to draw 2 cards. This is a way of adding card advantage without having to run generic draw cards. Jurrac Galem is a fire attribute dinosaur type tuner effect monster. It's a level 2 with 1200 attack and 0 defense. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, your opponent can discard 1 card to negate this card's effect, otherwise destroy the monster that destroyed this card. This has the option to prevent your opponent from using the monster that attacked into this card, otherwise they have to discard a card, so there is a way of preventing your opponent from gaining too much advantage. It is a tuner, so it's useful for synchro plays, and being a level 2 makes it quite easy to go into some of the higher level monsters. Jurrac Giganoto is a fire attribute dinosaur type synchro effect monster. It's a level 7 with 2100 attack and 1800 defense. It needs a tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner dinosaur type monsters. All face-up Jurrac monsters you control gain a 200 attack for each Jurrac monster in your graveyard. The summon condition on this card isn't too difficult, as it can be generic within dinosaur type decks, although it only incentivizes a boosting effect if you've got Jurrac monsters in your graveyard. So it's pretty much telling you to run it within a Jurrac deck. If you're considering summoning this card, say you use 2-3 monsters, you're guaranteeing at least a boost for each of your Jurrac monsters of between 400 to 600 attack points. That's just in the summoning of this card. If it's been along the duel, more than likely you're going to get those cards up to over 1000 additional attack points, and it doesn't restrict or limit based on the names of the different Jurracs. It doesn't say it has to be one of each Jurrac, then that boosts your attack points. So you can have multiple copies of a particular one in the graveyard and they all still count. Jurrac Guaiba is a fire attribute dinosaur type effect monster, level 4 with 1700 attack and 400 defense. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can special summon one Jurrac monster with 1700 or less attack from your deck, but it cannot declare an attack this turn. This is able to kind of bring out other Jurrac monsters pretty easily, so long as it's destroyed another monster in battle. Those are not too limiting, as most of the monsters that are weaker are 1700 or less attack anyway. It only restricts them from declaring an attack in the turn, but they're still free to use their effects. Jurrac Hera is a fire attribute dinosaur type level 6 with 2300 attack and 1500 defense. The effect is when a defense position Jurrac monster you control, except Jurrac Hera, is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand or graveyard. It's quite decent as it can be activated from either the hand or the graveyard, provided a defense position Jurrac is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, it can instantly bring itself out without the need for the tribute. Jurrac Iguanon is a fire attribute dinosaur type effect monster. It's a level 4 with 1700 attack and 700 defense. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can target one set card your opponent controls and return that target to the hand. It's a decent enough effect as it just gets to return a set card, but it doesn't negate the activation of that set card, so if you use this effect, your opponent can still trigger off those abilities. It's a way of clearing your opponent's board, but it's quite slow and is dependent on the battle phase. Jurrac Meteor is a fire attribute dinosaur type synchro effect monster, level 10 with 2800 attack and 2000 defense. It requires a Jurrac tuner plus 2 or more non-tuner dinosaur type monsters. When this card is synchro summoned, destroy all cards on the field. Then you can special summon one tuner monster from your graveyard. This is the boss monster for the archetype. It is one of the strongest monsters they have and definitely the strongest synchro monster. It does require quite a few costs to bring it out in terms of resources, as it needs a specific Jurrac tuner and 2 more non-tuner dinosaur monsters. As soon as this card is synchro summoned, it instantly destroys all cards on the field, so that's yours and your opponent's. It doesn't matter if they're monsters, spell or traps, just everything goes, including itself. It is able to replace itself with a tuner monster as some form of, recovery, but that is most likely going to be the Jurrac tuner that's been used to bring this card out in the first place. Jurrac Monolith is a fire attribute dinosaur type tuner effect monster, level 3 with 1500 attack and 1200 defense. This card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. It's a decent effect as it allows you to just attack everything, but you'd have to boost this card up to make it a considerable enough threat. It very much has the same type of effect as an Ultimate Tyranno, but that's got double the attack points of this card. It also being a tuner means it can be easy out to support going into synchro plays. Jurrac Protops is a fire attribute dinosaur effect monster, level 4 with 1700 attack and 1200 defense. It gains 100 attack for each monster your opponent controls. The more your opponent monsters have on the field, the more powerful this card becomes. Realistically, if they have 2-3 cards, this can become a 2000 attack monster, roughly around their maximum. If they've got entirely their field covered, that becomes a 2300 attack monster. For the level 4s, it currently sits as the strongest in just pure attack points. Jurrac Terra is a fire attribute dinosaur effect monster, level 3 with 800 attack and 1500 defense. If this card is attacked, return the attacking monster to the hand after damage calculation, and this card gains defense equal to the return monster's level times 100. The design on this card is that it's able to return an attacking monster to the hand after damage calculation. This is useful if your opponent just blindly goes into attack, maybe with their weakest monster. They are unable to get over this card. That card then goes back to the hand, and then this is able to boost its defense points by the level of that monster. Saying that, if it is a weak lower level monster, then this is boosting by say 300-400 points, and it's going to be quite obvious unless you force attacks onto this card with your opponent's weaker monsters. There isn't a chance for this to keep accumulating its defense points. Jurrac Spinos is a fire attribute dinosaur type effect monster, level 7 with 2600 attack and 1700 defense. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, special summon one Spinos token. It's a dinosaur fire level 1 with 300 attack and 0 defense in attack position to your opponent's field. You may be wondering, why is this card generating more token advantage for your opponent's field presence? There are a couple of reasons for it. Firstly, your other Jurrac monsters have to often defeat another monster that your opponent controls in order to trigger off their effects. By having a 300 attack token on the opponent's field, it's very easy for those other monsters to attack over those cards and trigger those effects. The other thing is, it's only 300 attack points. It's really not presenting or preserving your opponent's life points, and cards that would typically activate through direct attacks from the hand, such as Battle Fader, can no longer work as those tokens are on the field, and therefore you don't have an empty field to direct attack into. This is one of the boss monsters effectively as a non-synchro play. Jurrac Storiko is a fire attribute dinosaur effect monster, level 2 with 500 attack and 400 defense. If this card is destroyed by battle, special summon 2 Jurrac tokens, dinosaur fire level 1 with 0 attack and defense in defense position. They cannot be attributed for a tribute summon unless it is for a Jurrac monster. This is probably one of the smaller monsters in the arsenal for this archetype. It has to be destroyed by battle, and you can either do that yourself by crashing this card into your opponents, or you can set this card and your opponent attack into your monster. Either way, it still triggers off the tokens. The tokens themselves have 0 attack and defense, and they are in defense position, so unless your opponent has piercing battle damage on any of their monsters, it's not going to harm you. They cannot also be used for a tribute summon unless it's specific to Jurrac monsters, but the good thing is there are a couple of monsters out there that would sit well with this card. Jurrac Titano is a fire attribute dinosaur level 9 with 3000 attack and 2800 defense. It cannot be special summoned, and it cannot be targeted by trap or monster effects. Once per turn, you can banish one Jurrac monster with 1700 or less attack from your graveyard. This card gains 1000 attack until the end phase. This is the nearest they have to a boss monster that's not happened to be a synchro monster. It is a level 9, so it's not so easy to bring out. It does require 2 tributes, as the Storiko generates tokens that can possibly be an option for you to bring this out without too much cost. It has protection from being targeted by trap or monster effects, but if they're just mass effects that are non-targeting, then this card is just as susceptible. It would have been better if it had said something like, this card is immune to all trap and monster effects. That way it would have full protection, and then you could only get rid of it by spell cards or by strengthening a particular monster to above this 3000 attack points. You're able to banish a Jurrac monster with 1700 or less attack from the graveyard. This is a once per turn effect, and it becomes a 1000 attack boosted monster to a total of 4000 attack. Not bad for a level 9, but it's not enough for this day and age. I'm hoping when we get the new Jurrac support that we either get a retrain of this card, or we get similar type of support that we got for Volcanic Doomfire. When that card came out, when they helped the additional support for Axel Brody from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Season 3, he ended up getting a brand new Volcanic Emperor, which is a boss monster that is slightly more powerful than the previous, but it has a recursion effect. It's one which can be summoned either from the hand or back from the graveyard by just getting rid of several cards. We need an equivalent for this. Jurrac Tyrannus is a fire attribute dinosaur type level 7 with 2500 attack and 1400 defense. You can tribute one dinosaur monster. This card gains 500 attack. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, this card gains 300 attack. It's easy enough to bring this card out as it requires only a tribute of 1 dinosaur monster. Actually, scratch that. It does need the 2 tributes to bring it out, but if you do tribute a dinosaur monster, this card gains an additional 500 attack points. And since this can be used pretty much every turn, it's not a once per turn effect. The more you can use that, the more powerful this card becomes. But the issue then is, do you want to be that resource heavy into this, investing into this card, as it doesn't have any inbuilt protection? And when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, so it has to be specifically sent to the graveyard, it gains an additional 300 points. So the more you can kind of bulk it up at the start, the more it can be its own self-starting engine. Pair this with some of the other boosting attack point cards, and you've got a clear line of victory. But again, it's very resource intensive. Jurrac Velo is a fire attribute dinosaur type effect monster, level 4 with 1700 attack and 1000 defense. When this face-up attack position card attacks or is attacked, and it is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Jurrac monster with 1700 or less attack from your deck. It's a clear way of bringing out another Jurrac monster to the field, but you are having to get rid of this card to trigger that effect. Jurrac Velpito is a fire attribute dinosaur type synchro effect monster, level 5 with question mark attack and defense. It requires a tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner dinosaur type monsters, and this card attack and defense are equal to the total original attack of the synchro material monsters used for its synchro summon. If this card attacks a face down defense position monster, you can destroy the monster immediately with this card's effect without flipping it face up or applying a damage calculation. In other words, the more cards you use to bring this card out and the more powerful those monsters are, the stronger this card comes. Realistically, you can get this card to maybe a couple of thousand attack points with the ability to use its effect like Drillroid. It gets rid of a defense position monster that has to be face down with no questions asked. That's good against certain decks that may have trigger effects based on, being flipped face up, or for other effects that activate. But it's not necessarily that great in terms of it is a level 5. How many monsters are you going to necessarily use to bring out a level 5? Maybe as little as 2 cards. If I'm being generous, maybe 3. But saying that, they'll probably reach a similar kind of attack level status, making it not worth too much investment into. Jurrac Impact is a normal trap card. The effect is if you control a dinosaur type monster with 2500 or more attack, destroy all cards on the field. It's a decent way of wiping out both yours and your opponent's cards, and the interesting thing about this card is it's pretty much the only card in the Jurrac archetype that is a non-monster. Everything else is just a monster. They rely so heavily on the generic dinosaur support, which has been around for years, and even some of the modern ones are still not that effective when applied to this deck. It needs more dedicated support, and I'm hoping with the latest round of support that they're hoping to get, which has been actually confirmed alongside the Fabled archetype, we will start seeing spell and traps, as well as new synchro monsters that actually do something, a better boss monster overall within the main deck, and some decent tuner and level 4 monsters to just make the deck more consistent and bring it up to speed in some semblance. I'd love to know what you guys think of this deck and what you're hoping to see in the future with the support. Make sure to like the video, it really helps support the channel, and if you could subscribe, that would be great. Thank you.